My name is Denise Eckert, and I love coming on here and sharing different ideas and techniques to help you create a less stressed lifestyle. And today we're going to talk about how to develop a thriving mindset. And today I've got Kathy Harmon-Luber, and she's a certified sound therapy and sound healing practitioner, Reiki master, and wellness guide whose passion is helping people navigate the challenging terrain of the healing journey. Her best-selling book, Suffering to Thriving, Your Toolkit for Navigating Your Healing Journey, How to Live a More Healthy, Peaceful, Joyful Life, is full of wisdom gleaned from decades healing from debilitating health crises. Welcome, Kathy.
Hi, Denise. I'm so happy to be here.
Lovely to have you. So, what inspired you to
Thanks.
do this type of work?
Okay, it's kind of a long story, but I'll make it brief. I have been a musician my whole life. I started playing piano when I was 3, flute, classical flute as I got older, piano, all the stuff. And music has always been a part of my life. Fast forward, I have a job in LA, lots of jobs actually over many, many years. Executive director, vice president of fundraising, things of that nature, high stress. I began turning to not only playing music, but like to going to drum circles on the beach in Santa Monica, and then going to yoga studios and hearing about sound baths, and which are for our listeners who don't know, they're simply an immersion in frequencies of all different kinds. And so I really began building that into my daily practice. I have a monk morning practice and I take breaks throughout the day. So I just started doing the bowls and Native American flutes and other things. Really found that to be just a game changer in terms of breaking the stress of whatever I was going through and resetting my nervous system, basically. Fast forward then to 2016 when I had the fourth debilitating spinal rupture that left me bedridden for 5 years. It was crazy, insane. And there were horrible times, of course, and very, very depressing. But my husband came to me one day, lying flat on my back, and he says, you can't play your classical flute, which is out to the side, and twist my back. I've been performing every weekend up until that point. I've been hiking, swimming, all the stuff. But he says, you can't play your flute, but like you could play one of your Native American flutes lying down. Why don't you just try it and let me get one of your bowls? And so what I realized is it was a complete reset of that terrible thing that happens when you're in an awful pain cycle. Then you start going down the rabbit hole of wrong questions. And this is part of the mindset part. I'll get to that in a moment, put a pin in it. But that's how I got into it. I thought, this is really helping me. And I don't know why. So I started just reading more about sound healing. I got certified. And this is all flat on my back. I've been doing a lot of sound baths for other people too. Up until that point, I've been doing this for about 20 years. But I got certified and decided to make it a business as I was down for the count with this horrible spinal issue. And so, what I started to say about the the whole notion of making your mind your medicine. One day, like I had had other disc ruptures, and they often healed in 2 to 3 or 4 months, and then I was back to my pretty much normal life. Well, this fourth one, that was not the case. 6 months, 8 months, a year later, the neurosurgeon was still saying it was not operable because of other spinal issues. I inherited issues that when I was 20 years old, I was told I had the spine of an 80-year-old woman. And I was very athletic at the time and ended up doing some additional damage. But the bottom line is, I got to this point where I thought I was very depressed. And I thought, is this what my life is going to be like for the rest of my life? I was asking all the wrong questions. I was saying things to myself like, what if it's always like this? What if I never get better? The doctor said I had a 50-50 chance of ever getting out of bed really again. It took me years to be able to walk to the bedroom door, even. It was like that serious. And I thought, what if this is the rest of my life, right? So one day I woke up, I decided to start collecting inspiring quotes. I started keeping my journal on my laptop because I couldn't walk across the room to grab my journal. And I realized that my mind is my medicine, and this kind of suffering in the mind is a choice. And we do this to ourselves in the business world, a lot of us, where we might spiral out of control, hair on fire because we're so stressed out, right? And and we have to come back to center and like ground that and say to ourselves, what do I really fear here? What is my medicine? So for me, of course, music and sound, art, nature, those are my medicine. Everybody is unique though. We all have different medicine. The key is finding the medicine that takes you out of that downward spiral, that gives you hope, that lights your fire, that lights your passion for what you do. Like even if we love our business so much, we can still get to the point where it can become drudgery or parts of it become drudgery. The financial aspects, like you were talking about with Adam, some of us really just don't like that. And it does become the part about our businesses that we really do not enjoy or even hate. And so, what lights us up? What is our medicine? Why do we get into this in the first place? Asking the right questions instead of, what if it's always going to be this way? What if I am always struggling? And when I say the healing journey in my book, I also mean any kind of a journey. Our businesses can be a healing journey, right? Grief, loss, job loss, divorce, breakups, whatever. Those are all healing journeys in a way. So the metaphor still carries through. But the important thing is to really just squarely ask ourselves, instead of, will it always be this way? What if this is a portal? What if this is a portal to something new? All this struggle I'm going through right now, all of these bumps in the road, these hard times I'm going through, what if they're opening another door for me that I don't see yet? What if this is the beginning of something better? And in my life, in my career, in my current business, in writing my book, in everything, I have seen that where I think the challenges are like, oh, this is so awful. I will never get through this. This is a huge challenge. Only to find out when I look back at it, like I'm grateful that that disc rupture happened. And I know that must sound crazy, right? But I am now. I wasn't then. I was not then, and I was cursing it. But now it's like I see it as the gift that got me to this new place, and it's a beautiful thing. And when we so often we beat ourselves up. This is another making your mind your medicine. We think of our inabilities. We say, "Oh, I'm not good at the financial part. I'm not good at that part." Instead of saying, it's basically ability versus inability. What am I great at? And really focusing and leaning in on that, and not beating yourself up, meeting yourself with self-love and self-compassion for the part you're not so good at, and get the help that you need, right? And so, and back to that suffering as a choice, every day it's really easy to live in a place of just, this has become drudgery. I'm not having fun anymore. That's a form of suffering too. And it's a choice. In every minute we have a choice. We can flip the switch to something new. For me, sound does that, painting does that, playing an instrument of any kind does that, going for a walk in nature does that. And yes, now I can walk in nature. So I've made a really amazing recovery. Doctors told me I'd be in a wheelchair by the time I was 35, and I'm significantly beyond that, and I'm not. So extremely grateful for that. But the mind could go to that place of saying, "Oh, I'll never be able to do this," or "I'm not good enough to do that." We have to harness our mind and keep it not in a false positive place, but keep our eyes on the prize and make a choice about what really matters in life. What brings us joy? What brings us happiness? What legacy do we want to leave in our lives? And so often these kinds of disruptions are the things that open the portal, as I say, or a door to a new life or a better way of being in the world. Yeah.
Wow, what a wonderful mindset. And I'm so grateful that you were able to recover from that being on your
Yeah.
back. And that's just horrible. And I'm so glad that you did recognize what sound healing can do for you too.
Yeah, it's been amazing. And it has gone so much further than just stress release. And I don't want to say just stress release because I had, at many times in my life, I've had clinical depression and massive anxiety disorder. And so it has helped that. And today I'm not on any of those meds. It's helped it so much, but it's also helped in terms of pain relief. There's so much science, a lot of good science is coming out of a lot of the major universities, and hospitals are increasingly, many hospitals across the country have integrated sound into their departments of integrative medicine. And there's great research coming out of UCLA here in California. James Jimzewski, a guy who researches along with sonic scientists and medical doctors, has found that every type of cell in our body has a frequency. They can listen to it in the lab. So heart cells have a certain frequencies, brain cells have a certain frequency. And what they're finding is when cells become damaged or just sluggish or just diseased, when we apply that sound frequency that is their sound frequency to it, they watch it under the microscope, they become reinvigorated and heal. And so that portends great things for the future of medicine combined with sound healing. So it's an incredibly exciting time, I think, to be alive and to be sort of watching how sound healing is being integrated in with medicine. There's a wonderful doctor, an oncologist, practicing oncologist by the name of Mitchell Gaynor, and he has said sound can redress every disease and problem. I'm not getting his quote right, but I'll point our listeners to my website, which we can say at the end. But I have a lot of articles there on sound healing that are free, and there's a great one in Yoga Magazine. You can click on the link and get the exact quote. But he gives sound baths, and you can also look for him on YouTube. I don't know him at all, but he's somebody who's inspired me. He does sound baths in a room full of his cancer patients. That's how much he believes in the healing power of sound. He's written a tremendous book too. There are many doctors who are out there writing about and doing sound healing right now because it does heal us. Yeah, it's pretty remarkable.
I love that because, well, as you said, sometimes being an entrepreneur, you run around like your hair's on fire.
Uh-huh.
And when I feel that stressed, one thing I do is listen to a sound bath. And as we were
Yeah.
talking about before this interview, it doesn't take long, like 5-10 minutes. And the change is just, I can't even
Yes.
describe it. It's just incredible how, and it's not even in my home. It's something I'm listening to on
Yes.
my phone or my computer. It's just so amazing. Now, for
That's right.
someone that's listening, how could they get started? Something
Yeah,
simple.
I've got a great simple tip for anyone, entrepreneur or not, who's out there and says, I need something. This is resonating with me. Okay, there are a couple of very simple things. One is called the humble hum. Humming is hugely healing because the ear connects to the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is the nerve that wanders through our entire body and regulates all the things that we don't think about: heartbeat, breathing, digestion, all the stuff. And humming stimulates the vagus nerve. And so it's been found to be incredibly healing. So does singing. Okay, so you could hum or sing for, I like to say, 4 to 5 minutes. You found that that's also the sweet spot. But the science behind it is that is when our bodies, our cells, all of our cells become in entrainment with the sound, which is a fancy word for they begin to resonate with that sound. So 5 minutes of humming or singing as you're on your walk, as you're in the shower, as you're cooking, or taking a break. I have a chime on my phone, which is an app, and every hour on the hour it rings, and I take myself a 5 minute break in the middle of the craziest of work deadlines for the grant writing work that I do. I take a break and I do 5 minutes humming, singing. The other thing is if you have music you love is healing. As long as it's not too loud. If you have good headphones or earbuds, all the better. But music you love. People think, oh, it has to be classical music because it's mellow sometimes. Not necessarily. Jazz, R&B, hip hop, whatever you happen to like. If you love it, it is healing for you. right? So take yourself a break and listen to music you love. The other thing is, I have a number of bowls, crystal and Tibetan, from little 4-inch ones to very, very, very large ones. The little ones are so inexpensive and it's easy to just ring it. I happen to have one right here that I will ring for us, but it takes this is my instant reset. I hit it once and it changes the entire energy in the room. Like I'm running around like a crazy person. Yeah, I hit that bell and it's like, okay, but you can use your wind chimes at home. Go outside, ring your wind chimes, same effect. And it's just this. I hope you could hear that okay.
Yeah.
That's it. And it's like, take a breath and it's like, okay, that was a reset right there. I do that as part of my morning practice, my evening practice, and at stress points throughout the day. There's one more that I like to mention. I mean, I have a million of them, and they're also on my website in some of these articles. But tapping percussively on your chest, just like a little drum beat. I happen to play drum. If you have a drum, great. You can drum on your desk. You can drum on a book. You can drum on your chest. It's like the heartbeat. And there's something about that that's very comforting. That's what we heard in our mother's wombs, right? And so I've seen some of my students walking down the street just tapping on their chest if they're having a stressful moment, students and clients. And so those are some small ways to build sound into your daily life. There are a million things you can do if you're a musician and you bring intention. So this is the final little tip here. Sound frequency plus intention equals healing. So the intention is simply, I intend to breathe and relax or reset as I chime my wind chimes or gong or whatever you happen to have handy, or as I tap, or as I, whatever I'm doing. It's the intention, or just simply, I intend to heal. I intend to relax. I intend to reset, that kind of thing. A simple intention along with the frequency equals healing. Yeah.
Wow. And that's something that you can do anywhere, really. Like you can tap your
Yes.
chest anywhere. You can,
Yeah.
it's pretty,
You can
pretty
hum and
powerful.
sing. Hum and sing anywhere. I often do it when I'm going outside on a little walk, but I sometimes just take a break as I'm leaving a business Zoom and going off to the kitchen to make a cup of tea. I just hum along the way, like intentional humming. It doesn't have to be pretty. You don't have to have a good voice. All you have to do is stimulate that vagus nerve. That's where the healing action is. It isn't. People will often say to me, my clients will say, "Oh, I don't have a voice. You've got a voice. I don't have a voice. I don't sing well." Does not matter. No one's listening but you. Does not matter.
Yeah. Now, your book, Suffering to Thriving, your toolkit for navigating your healing journey, how to live a more healthy, peaceful, joyful life. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Okay. So that all came out of in 2016 being, I call it the universal smackdown, when I was flat down for the count. There wasn't much I could do, but I could prop my laptop on my stomach and I started collecting those inspiring quotes, and I would just start keeping a journal. And then after about a year to year and a half, I looked at that journal one day. I just went back and started reading through it and I thought, there are so many great quotes here, and there's wisdom I've gotten along the way. And then I love this quote that I pulled up for you because I wanted to share it. Alain de Botton wisely said, "We should not feel embarrassed by our difficulties, only by our failures to grow anything beautiful from them." I love that quote. Any kind of difficulty, right? Make something beautiful out of it. And I thought to myself, I had never ever planned to write a book, Denise. I'm a grant writer. I do a certain kind of writing. I never thought I had a book in me, never aspired to that. But every day I start thinking about it, and I think I have to write this book. And I found a publisher and I wrote the book. And the book is basically this. It is, I think, 36 really super short chapters that do not need to be read sequentially. Each one is a lesson on the healing journey. And I have had friends who have never really been sick, never had anything major, who have read it, both men and women, and have said, I got so much out of that, and I'm not on the healing journey. So there's a lot of wisdom there, and there's a lot of wisdom for caregivers. I've also heard back from people. And so there are chapters like things like acceptance and letting go, things like nature as medicine. There's a vibrational healing section in there that talks about music and sound and energy work. There's a chapter about dreaming and dreaming big. And as entrepreneurs, we have to open ourselves and dream big. And sometimes those dreams are gestated when you're going through the hardest times, right? Like sometimes that's when we see our imagination pointing to a new path or a new step on a different path. Yeah. And so every chapter is a bit of a lesson. There are things about healing in particular, like being super sleuthy about supplements and food as medicine. There's a great chapter about rest and recovery and self care, which goes for every single one of us who is burned out. You talk a lot about burnout, and burnout requires that we slow down. When we look at nature, nature has these seasons, and in winter, nature rests. What is our season for resting as entrepreneurs or just business people in general? We don't, like, right? So there's a chapter on that and how we can build a little bit of that. Obviously, we can't take the entire month, the entire season of winter off, right? Most of us cannot afford to do that. But there are ways to integrate that into your daily practice and your life that you do get that downtime, that you do get time for adequate sleep and rest and recovery and having recovery days when you've had a big something. You might be putting on a summit or a webinar or a course or just whatever it happens to be in your line of work. You need to honor that and step back. And then there are chapters like the chapter about gratitude. Yeah.
Wonderful. Kathy, we're going to be wrapping this up. So what words of wisdom can you leave the audience today?
Oh, I love that question, Denise. Here's my thought. I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Our world is at a perilous time, right? Everything that's going on socially as well as with the environment. Like the world, all of us are here, I believe, for a specific reason. We were born at this time for a reason. We all have a purpose as you are living. We all have a purpose. And I believe every person listening, every person on the planet has a gift to bring to the world. And it is a matter of doing the deep inner listening, following our gifts, following our passion. What I like to say is following the endless trail of curiosity that piques our interest, right? That's what I call listening to the heart or listening to our inner healer, if you will. We all need to be doing more of that and bringing that to the world because it may seem like we all have days where we think, what good am I doing? Right? Is this doing any good? Is it helping the world? I mean, I know I'm helping people one on one. Is it helping the world? And the answer I always come to is everything that any one of us does that helps one person, even if it's a family member, even if it's a neighbor, it helps the entire world right now. That's what our world needs, more of our gifts. And so I would just say to everyone listening, just keep following your heart. Even on those days that are immensely stressful, we're ridiculously tired and overworked and burned out. Try to find the things that you offer on your show, your podcast, and sound healing as one of them, but all the other tools that you're giving people in the toolkit that you provide, and keep doing it. Rest when you need to, but keep doing it. But feed yourself first. Always give the self-love and self-care that you need in order to be there for the long haul, because the world needs us now more than ever, perhaps. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I heard this really neat saying over the weekend, you can't drink from an empty well. Like I've heard all the other sayings, you need to recharge your batteries and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, you can't drink from an empty well.
You cannot, right? And that is the work that you do with stress and burnout. It's like when we're burned out, been there, done that many times myself. I'm sure we all have. The well is empty. And sometimes it takes a vacation. Sometimes it takes a sabbatical. Sometimes it takes more than that. Like we just have to, and I think for when when I got knocked down really bad with the disc rupture, I think that was the message that I needed way deeper, going inward, resting, recovering, just deep, deep, deep recovery physically in order to really build upon the gifts that I was sort of slowly inching towards with the sound healing, but like, no, now is the time. Get certified, bring that to the world, rest yourself. It was a big message for me, but we often are going in 5 million directions, and we're so busy and we're so connected to our devices, right? Because we have to be. We have to be on social media. We have to be doing all the stuff that we forget that we really just need to unplug and go inward and rest and recover and listen to the message from our heart. That's following our intuition. And I wrote an article for Best Holistic Life magazine that is on my website, and it's called Soul Pathing. And it is just the kinds of things that you and I talk about finding your way forward. And I would just encourage people to check that out if you feel like you're in a place where you need to be thinking about a new path forward, or really just fine tuning or course correcting your path. What's good for that too. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Kathy. Such great information. And the one thing I really impress on people is that doing something like a sound bath, when you are feeling frazzled or stressed out, it doesn't take long. Taking that five,
No,
10 minute break and just resetting yourself is so powerful. And we
that's right.
tend to, I find when we're feeling stressed or frazzled, our we mindset as well, we tell ourselves we're too busy. And
That's
we
right.
tell ourselves that, oh, I'm too stressed out, I'm too busy, I'm too busy. And we keep
Yes,
going into that hamster wheel and until we get sick.
that's right.
And
Yes,
I know
yes,
I
yes,
did
yes,
the
yes.
same
Did you? Yes. I think
until I
all of
learned
us
better.
probably do. That's right. That's right. And like I don't do that anymore.
No.
My mantra now is it all gets done and self-care must come first. And so I'll offer one more free offering to our listeners. There are a bunch of them on the website, including a wonderful Heal the Heart Chakra, 4 modules, including a sound bath that I did with Dr. Charlize Davis. And she does the functional medicine side of the heart chakra, and I do the energy and vibrational medicine. And she's also a Reiki master. So we give Reiki, both of us, during that very powerful sound session. So that's at the website. But the other thing is at my YouTube channel, I do this little thing called Moments of Peace. 2 minutes, 2 minutes of a native flute, 2 minutes of chimes, 2 minutes of a drum, 2 minutes. Everybody has 2 minutes. Come on, right? We all have 2 minutes. Take that break on the hour and just listen to 2 minutes of something. And it doesn't have to be me. YouTube is full of this stuff. And it doesn't matter who you listen to or how famous they are or aren't. It's just gift yourself. We give our gifts to other people. We need to gift ourselves 5 minutes, 2 minutes, whatever you have time for. But my mantra is everything gets done. And it always does, doesn't it? It
Yeah.
always does. Even when we're stressing over a deadline, it always gets done. So recharge yourself. Yeah. Don't burn out, right?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kathy. What amazing information. So now I'm leaving you a gentle reminder to slow down and enjoy life, and I'll see you in the next episode.